Hey everyone, happy Monday. Today is September 28th, and here's today's Monday Morning Minute for you all. It's going to be a short one, I think. Okay, so today I just want to talk about this week's reading since last week there were assigned readings, but we didn't have a critical response because you all turned in your teaching metaphor projects, which I'm so excited to dig into and grade this week, by the way. But we'll look at this week's readings and then we'll talk about critical response number 3. And then I just have a very brief, friendly reminder for you all. Okay, so now continuing into our second unit, thinking about what is assessment. Today we are sort of skimming the surface of different types of assessments. So peer assessments, group assessments, performance assessments. And we're doing that through 3 readings, one of which is optional. And the first one, if you have like a limited amount of time this week, as I'm sure is the case every week, I want to direct your attention first to the Vega reading. So kind of top left on this slide, that comprehensive assessment research review. Spend your time there if it's pretty limited. And then I would say go to the French piece, talking more specifically about performance assessment. And then if you have time and or the inclination, you can look at the topping piece, the bottom left of the slide, that's solely about peer assessment. Really good research, good information there, but also just a resource for you to have as you perhaps move into the field and are looking to implement peer assessment. You can always come back to that. Okay, so the Vega piece is through Edutopia and really takes a deep dive into the research around assessment. And I think there will be aspects of this research that you should critique and that you will feel compelled to critique. And I think that that's a really, really important part of learning about assessments. However, I do want you all to be aware of what the research says. The capital R research and the capital R researchers, many of whom are coming from a really behaviorist standpoint. So again, kind of take all of this information with a grain of salt. That said, it is important. And again, I want you to have that language of assessment as you are working through your field experience now, as you go into student teaching next spring, as you have your own classroom potentially in the fall. I want you to be able to talk the talk and then make up your own mind around the kinds of assessments that you think are going to serve your students the best. Okay, all of that to say that within this Vega piece, which is super comprehensive, she's looking at sort of 3 pieces of what is called a comprehensive assessment. And this can apply to all kinds of assessments, whether they're peer assessments or performance assessments, or even multiple choice tests. In any case, they should relate to meaningful goals that you've hopefully collaborated on with your students. They all need to involve actionable feedback that students can take and actually use and apply immediately. And then finally, the last step here is to then use this information, this actionable feedback, these meaningful goals to help motivate learners to continue on with the course of study. So again, it's a deep dive into some research-backed strategies. There's a great annotated bibliography at the end that I encourage you to check out. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that page just really quickly because I want to make sure that we all understand what I'm asking you to read. Okay, so here it is on the Edutopia website. And this is the introduction. As you notice, there are tons of hyperlinks here, and these are all included in that annotated bibliography at the end. But looking at this table of contents, I would like you to read through all of these sections. They're not very long. It's pretty condensed, which is helpful, but all through all 6 down to the annotated bibliography. That's what I'm asking you to read for this Vega piece. Okay. So secondly, again, if you have the time and the mental space to devote to it, go ahead and check out this piece by French. It's called The Future is Performance Assessment. This was exciting to me as somebody who's really interested in democratic education and the small d democratic purposes for education. I love that French links performance assessment to something that can actually help us and help our students learn to get along and work together collaboratively, which are super important small d democratic skills that not many of us have. So for French, that's kind of the angle that he takes in describing why performance assessment can help us sort of instill those 21st century citizenship skills with students. Again, there are some great hyperlinked resources throughout that piece, and it's only, I think, 7 or 8 pages long. And then finally, the topping piece about peer assessment, again, totally optional. It is a deep, deep, deep dive into peer assessment. I think, interestingly, he notes kind of from the get-go that he wants to both provide a comprehensive review of the research around the efficacy of peer assessment and ensure that practitioners can access specific skills so that they can use peer assessment in their classrooms. And I think that the author does a good job of sort of balancing those two. An interesting finding presented near the end is that the reliability and validity of peer assessments, according to Topping, tends to be at least as high and often higher than teacher assessments. So some food for thought there. Okay, for our critical response number 3 this week, I'm asking you to reflect on a couple of questions. First of all, I really want us to start integrating what we're seeing in the field with what we're reading as part of this class. And some of you do it naturally and it just kind of comes out, and that's fantastic. And here I just want to give us all a nudge to really be thinking about what we're witnessing in our field placements, and again, how that aligns or perhaps doesn't critically with what we're talking about in our course. So the first question I have for you is, what assessment practices are you observing in your field placement? And kind of along with that, what does assessment look like in your context? What is assessment? Yeah, what shape does it take, especially since some of us are virtual, some of us are face-to-face? Yeah, what's it looking like? I'm genuinely interested. And secondly, what are some assessment practices discussed in the reading that you could see yourself implementing? Again, just want you to kind of picture your future classroom. And as you're reading through our texts this week, consider what you could see yourself actually doing. What would make sense given your content area, given your desired grade level, etc. So the initial post for this is due this Thursday, October 1st. We're already in October. And then our 2 follow-ups will be due the following Sunday, October 4th. And finally, just a little friendly reminder. This is a really crazy semester for everybody. And I know many of you, if not all of you, are probably folks who take your schoolwork very seriously. That's been super clear, and maybe really hate asking for extensions or for grace with regard to assignments generally. And I just wanted to let you all know that I'm here for you, and we're going to get through this semester together. So if for whatever reason, and you do not need to disclose a reason, if for whatever reason you need extra time with an assignment, let me know. Just let me know. And we'll work together to figure out something, I promise. So take care, everyone. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you back here next week.